people I was carpooling with wanted to kick me out. The only problem? It was my car. Since 3 of my colleagues lived in my neighborhood, I'd suggested we carpool to work to keep things from feeling awkward or like they owed me a massive favor. I told them the driver, Arthur, was a distant relative who happened to work nearby. I had Arthur charge them a rate that was barely more than a bus pass. It was a steal considering it saved them 2 hours of transit time and kept them out of the grueling Seattle rain. For 2 months, everything was smooth, or so I thought. Then came today. I was in a stall in the office lounge when I heard whispering near the sinks. I did some digging. A male voice said, Mark, from sales. A private car service for this route usually costs $200 a day. We're paying $50 between the 3 of us. If we could just get one more person in that 4th seat and charge them $50, our own ride would be free. The other 2 chimed in with murmurs of agreement. After a beat of silence, Mark spoke again. Why don't we just cut Riley loose? She's always acting so precious about the car, telling us to be careful with the upholstery like she owns the place. If she's gone, we can actually relax. I'm in, Jessica added, her voice sharp. I'm sick of that. Better then, you vibe she gives off. Let her go back to squeezing onto the light rail with everyone else. It's where she belongs. I leaned my forehead against the cold metal of the stall door and let out a silent, jagged laugh. Me on the light rail? They had no idea. It was my car. The conversation continued, dripping with a casual cruelty that made my skin crawl. We haven't paid for next month yet, Mark said. Let's just tell her we're done carpooling. Force her to drop out on her own. Exactly. Jessica giggled. And that story about the driver being her relative, who actually believes that? They barely speak to each other in the car. God, the look on her face when she thinks she's been dumped. Mark laughed. She acts like she's the queen of the office. I already texted Arthur. He said he'd keep the same price for the rest of us. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. They didn't know the car was a graduation gift from my parents. They didn't know Arthur had been my family's driver since I was in pigtails. I'd started this out of pity. One morning after a storm, I'd seen Mark and the others walk into the office looking like drowned rats. They'd mentioned they lived in a remote suburb to save on rent, which meant a soul-crushing 2-hour commute each way. My parents had bought a house for me in that same area, not because they wanted me in the suburbs, but because I liked the quiet. They insisted Arthur keep driving me for safety, out of a genuine desire to help. I offered them a ride. I cut their commute from 2 hours to 30 minutes, door to door. To protect their pride, I'd lied, saying it was just a relative's car and they were doing me a favor by filling seats. Back then, their faces had been masks of pure gratitude. Riley, you're a lifesaver, Jessica had said, clutching my arm. I knew you were the sweetest person in this department. Mark had even clapped me on the shoulder. If you ever need anything, kid, you come to me. I've been at this firm the longest. I've got your back. I realized now that my kindness hadn't bought me friends. It had only bred resentment. To them, I wasn't a benefactor. I was an obstacle to a free ride. I took a breath, composed myself, and stepped out of the stall. I walked to the sink and began washing my hands as if I hadn't heard a word. The 3 of them jumped. Panic flared in their eyes for a split second before they masked it with practiced corporate indifference. I saw Mark catch Jessica's eye in the mirror. Mark was the one to break the silence. Hey, Riley, we were actually just talking about you. The 3 of us decided we're going back to the train next month. It's cheaper, so we're out of the carpool. I looked at him, feigning confusion. But the carpool is barely more expensive than the transit pass. It was $50 a day for 3 people, roughly $16 each. The light rail was $12 round trip. When you factored in the time they saved and the fact that they were no longer getting docked for being late on rainy days, they were actually saving money with me. Not to mention, if someone stayed late, I'd tell Arthur not to charge them for the day. The gas alone cost more than what they were paying. Jessica stepped forward, her voice a sickly sweet imitation of concern. We're just trying to be responsible. Riley, we're working class, you know? Every dollar counts. And since we're dropping out, it wouldn't be fair for you to bear the cost of the car alone. You should probably just join us on the train. I looked at her, seeing the predatory gleam in her eyes.